Hi, and welcome to Steve Wraith's True Crime Podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Warren Higgs. And Warren reached out to me on Instagram with some stories he said he'd like to share about a mutual acquaintance that we both had, and that is Reggie Kray. How are you, Warren?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for reaching out. Just a little bit about you, first of all. Where were you? Where are you from? Where were you born? Where were you raised?
I was born in Essex, in Alsett, 1967. Always lived in the area. Always lived around here. Scaffolder. Worked in and around London all my life. Up to bits and pieces. Nothing major. But I ended up going to prison for 9 years for Section 18, which is attempted murder. And I went to Blunston, met Bradley first.
This is Bradley Allardyce, of course.
Bradley Allardyce, yeah.
Who ended up being a cellmate of Reggie's.
Yeah, well, it was a bit more than that, I think. I don't know how you want me to go with this. I'm not.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning, Warren. You go to prison. I mean, look. First of all, you know, Section 18 is, you know, as you've already explained, it's a very serious offence. You've ended up with a lot of jail time there. I mean, first of all, from your perspective, how did you cope with that going into prison for that first time?
I mean, obviously it was a shock. But you just get on with it. I was doing the exercises and we running every day when you could, when you was let out to exercise. But Blunston was a terrible prison. Really, it was all corridors and blind spots and things, and it was all people robbing people and for their canteen and stuff like that. They had trouble with the blacks. They was literally waiting for the whites to come out of the canteen, they're nicking it off of them. And to a lot of them, it was all they had, and it was getting that bad. In the end, the messages all went round. We're all going to go out and we're going to confront them. Not one of them come out on that yard that day. Not one of them. They're just cowards. Anyway, I met Bradley on the same wing. He was on the same wing as me.
And what was Bradley in for?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he was in for.
Was he? What kind of fella was he? Was he? I mean, obviously, I got a chance to meet him.
Very amicable. He was all right. He was friendly enough. He was all right. Quite tall, probably as tall as me. I'm 6'2". He was probably about the same height. Blondish hair, I'd say. Had a load of jewellery on him, which he said Reggie gave to him. Around his neck, on his fingers. He come down the stairs one day. Me and the geezer I was friendly with at the time was sitting in the TV room watching a bit of telly, and the screws office was opposite, and he come down like looked like he was in trouble. I don't know what. And as he walked into where the screws office was, you could see that I thought he'd shit himself all down the back of his jeans. I was told that it was because he owed a debt for drugs, and the Turk bent him over. I don't know how true that is, but we see it. I don't know what happened. Yeah, it looked like he shit himself. Like he shit himself. I'm not slagging the man off. I liked him. I'm just saying what I see and what I was told. Yeah. As for Reggie, I went to Maidstone. Literally walked onto the wing. Bradley come straight up with Reggie, introduced me, shook my hand. And when you're going from prison to prison, your stuff doesn't turn up for sometimes a week later. And you rely on your phone calls to ring your missus or your wife or your girlfriend, whatever, your family, to say, oh, I've arrived, blah, 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 come up on a visit. But obviously your phone cards and that, which you relied on the phone cards to phone, didn't arrive. First thing Reggie said, there's a phone card, don't worry about it, don't give me it back. I went, no, I can't take it. He insisted, so I phoned home. Thank you, Reggie. But he was a gentleman. Had a few chats in his cell, which was he liked Indian stuff, like dream catchers and stuff like that. Had in his cell. Told me a few stories which were quite funny.
Well, I mean, that first meeting with Reggie Kray, I mean, I remember mine going to Gartree prison. I'd never been to prison in my life. I walked into that visiting room. It was busy. It was noisy. It was a summer's day, and Reggie was always as Ron was when I visited him in Broadmoor. I was always wanted to come out last one into the visiting room, almost so he was the centre of attention. But what struck me, and I'm 6'2" as well. What struck me was how small he was. Did that surprise you? The height?
Yeah, very small, very frail, I'd say. He had thick glasses on with hearing aids on them, which I was surprised about as well. So, but obviously you get old, you do have these ailments, don't you? But yeah, he was tiny little skinny man, really. But yeah, he was very nice gentleman. But he created the screws, give him problems here, and nothing major, just up to no good.
What kind of problems would he cause?
Well, I ended up on the cleaners, and he was on the cleaners as well. He never done a thing. He just wondered about did something, which we didn't care anyway. But he was always, you know, drugs, I think, a lot of it, and just causing the screws a nightmare. Especially with Bradley on there as well. There was always up to something, the screws didn't like it, and in the end they separated them. I was on wheeled wing with Reggie, and they put Bradley on Kent wing, which was over. And when you looked up out the window, you could see the other Kent wing. And that night they separated. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but I did laugh that time. And so did my mate who was next door to me. It was Bradley, Reggie shouting across. And Reggie go, yes, yeah, what's the matter? Because he never really shout. I never heard him shout. He said, I love you, Reggie. Reggie's going, I love you too, Bradley. He's shouting across the yard. And it was just, at the time, it was a really funny. I love you too. But that was good. And then there was another time, so I'm not trying to belittle the man.
No.
When this youngish fella come on, Danny, I can't remember his surname. He bragging that he was the best blowjob in the prison.
Right.
Well, Reggie was all over him, mate. We was on the freeze, on the third floor, freeze, and this Danny was on the twos below us. This particular day, I think Bradley had gone. They've shipped him somewhere else. And me and Alan Guttridge was leaning on the thing. We'd done our clean, mopped the floors, whatever. Reggie come out with a pair of like 80s shorts on, those little short shorts.
Yeah.
With a towel over his arm. All right, Reg, all right, boys, he's just gone down the stairs, gone into Danny's cell. And there was in there, I don't know, however long. And he's come out, Reggie, with his towel round him and his shorts over his arm. So obviously he's changed in or done whatever he's done. And Winston Silcott used to be on the ground floor. He used to do my washing. He used to pay him for phone cards to do washing. Just literally walked across going to showers as this Danny and Reggie was walking down slowly. They went in the and it gets red hot in there and steam and stuff. And all of a sudden, Winston Silcott come out all soap in his eyes going, you fucking animals. You can imagine me and Adam just bursting out laughing. You see this big, he was a nice man as well, big black man come out all soap in his eyes complaining about them two up to no good in the showers. So that was funny as well.
I mean, did it surprise you? I mean, that Reg, was, gay. I mean, from my perspective, I
don't know if he was gay or whether it's been in there for so long he needed somewhere to put it. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, my mindset has always been, since things progressed over the years. I mean, I didn't realize, that Reg was gay. It never came up. His sexuality was never mentioned on visits. No. He certainly never made any kind of movements or whatever towards me on a visit or inclinations or innuendo or whatever.
Nor me.
So for me personally, Warren, I would never have known. However, with age comes experience. You read more, you see more. Lots of stories circulate about Reg's time in prison. Certainly those later years, but. For me, he was either a closet homosexual because let's not forget that Ronnie and Reggie were identical twins, and Ron was openly gay and open about his sexuality. I think Reg always battled with his sexuality. I mean, I think he loved the idea.
Might have been bisexual. You don't know.
He might have been, exactly. So Yeah, like you say, he was in prison for that long that maybe he just needed some kind of relief, and that was the only way he was going to get it, from somebody else in prison.
I mean, I sat in his cell with me and him on his own, chatting. Never come across to me, never touched me, never. Always shook my hand. Nothing else. It was just a man's man, as far as I'm concerned. But he was a gentleman. He was funny as well. He was quite funny.
Tell us about his cell. You said that he liked Indian stuff.
Yeah,
and I mean, there was
everywhere.
dream catchers and stuff.
Dream catchers, like American Indian stuff. He liked. It was all on the walls and letters and stuff and photos everywhere. And it was not untidy. He wasn't unclean. It was just everywhere. I suppose he must have got so much mail. Yeah, like that, but more cluttered. But it was good as gold. Really was good as gold. I mean, I remember near Christmas. That's what I said about the bottle of vodka. We were all playing cards. We used to take turns going to each other's cells to play cards, and it was around Christmas time. And was in, I can't remember. I think it might be Marcel. He just come in and plonked a bottle of vodka on the table. There, boys. Oh, thanks, Reg. Lovely. So obviously that was a little tot in our tea. And then I remember once Bradley come in one day and he went to speak to one of us that was supplying Reggie with ecstasies. Bradley went, I need to speak to you, mate. And this fella, I'm not going to mention his name. He went, you can speak to us all. We're all mates here. And he went, what is it? What's the matter? He went, please don't give Reggie any more them ease. He went, what's that, mate? And he just pulled his shirt, turned around, pulled his shirt up, and there's all bite marks and bruises on his back. Oh, I didn't laugh, but I had a smirk on my face. So, obviously, he's been getting a bit loved up. But yeah.
I mean, that photo there, I think that might have been similar to the cell that you were talking about. You know, you can see loads of pictures.
Like that. There was loads of pictures. There was, it was not cluttered. It was tidy and clean, but there was stuff everywhere from people that had sent him and letters. I mean, I'm quite artistic, and I got into my calligraphy when I was in there, and he knew about it, see things that I was doing. He used to write poems, and he asked me to do a few that I'd done. He signed them at the bottom and sold them off for charity. One of them, he said, got 1,500 quid, I think, or was it? Might have been £2,000, I can't remember. But I thought that was a good thing to do. I didn't mind doing it for him. What else could I do? He was just doing things like that all the time. I don't know where they went, them calligraphy pieces, but nice. I thought it was quite good that he was doing charity stuff like that.
Yeah, he did. He did a hell of a lot of charity work, which went unrecognised over the years. I've got to be perfectly honest. I mean, from that time in Maidstone as well. It was at that time that he lost his brother, wasn't it? Ronnie Kray.
It was.
Passed away in February 1995.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he had the plane go across with Ronnie Kray, legend. Flew right across the prison. I mean, you're not supposed to do that, but he did it. And that was, we all laughed and said, look at that. That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, yeah.
What was he like? What was he like in the days after? I mean, I got a phone call from Reg from Maidstone that morning when Ronnie Kray passed away. And he was very calm. He was very direct. And he got into that kind of Reg Kray organising things way of doing things. He knew what he wanted. He knew how the funeral was going to be. He knew what he wanted for his brother, and that was it. And I mean, there was a bizarre moment actually, which is available on YouTube, where he actually ended up on Good Morning Britain's news channel and was interviewed. But what was he like? What was he like? You know, I mean, I presume a lot of the inmates got around him and gave him support.
Yeah, he did go a bit quiet, but he kept himself busy as well. He was in the gym all the time, and always writing letters. I suppose he was replying to people, but he was all right. He didn't seem upset, but I don't think he would show that. I mean, whether when he got banged up, he might have broken down. I don't know, but he didn't seem like he was upset that much. You don't know what's going on in the poor man's head, but he seemed fine. Just carried on as normal. Just went a bit quiet for a little while.
And I mean, obviously, the day of the funeral, I was Charlie Cray's minder on that particular day, and I was at English's funeral parlour quite early. I was, it's a unique moment in time for me, because looking after Charlie, I went in to see Ron's body as Reg was brought in. So I was, for that brief moment, I was with all three Kray brothers together, albeit one of them being dead, which was quite a unique experience for me. But Reg carried himself fantastically well that day. What was he like when he got back to prison?
It was just the same. Everyone was giving him his condolences. I mean, I went up, shook his hand straight away, and it was right as rain. Really was. It didn't seem any different, really. Just quieter than normal. But as I said, I've never heard him raise his voice, apart from that once telling Bradley he loved him across the courtyard. I've never heard him. I never see him angry, upset. It was just a pure and utter gentleman, really. And as I say, on the visits, he'd go from table to table to table, saying hello to people, and he signed a couple of people's autographs for a mate of mine as well. He sent me Mrs. Christmas cards and stuff like that. It was good. It just really was. For Ronnie and for Charlie Kray's funerals, he'd give me their what they called with the funeral, with
the order of service.
Order of service. Yeah, give me 2 of those for both his brothers, which is nice. Yeah, he was just a gentleman. You see these people say, "Oh, he got what he deserved." I don't think he should have been let out a long time ago. I mean, I never knew Ronnie. Obviously, he was quite mad, I suppose. He should have been left in there, but Reggie could have come out a long time ago. He wouldn't have done no one any harm. He was a nice bloke.
Why do you think Reggie Kray didn't get out of prison?
Political, I think, because they knew the politicians and stuff. And it just made political as well as making something of it. The government. Say like, you don't mess with us, that sort of stuff. You mess with the government, you're either going to die or you're going to end up in prison the rest of your life. That's what I believe. So
you mentioned the conversations. You had many conversations with him. Is there any that stand out?
There is a couple about I don't know whether to say it, but there is a farm, and I know the man that runs it. It was a pig farm, and I investigated it after when he told me. He said, "Oh, I know a farm near you, blah, blah, blah." Explained it. I went, "Oh, I know the owner." And it's true, he did take people there on the pig farm to get rid of bodies. I don't know.
It's interesting because I never got that kind of impression from Reg. I spoke to him many times about different things. I remember going into one visit in Nottingham where he was absolutely furious about the News of the World running a story. I'm not going to say the guy, but one of the former firm members was front page and on pages 2 and 3 saying this is the graveyard where Jack the Hat was buried. His remains were buried. And Reg was just coming up. Reg was coming up for parole at this time. So you can imagine the damage that did for Reg's parole hearing. I always felt as well, Warren, that the reason he didn't get parole is because he never showed any remorse. He never showed sorry. And I did mention this to Reg on a couple of visits when we took. And the fact that he never ever apologized for killing Jack. And the reason that he always said to me was that, why should I apologize? Because if I hadn't killed him, he would have killed me.
That's what he said to me, yeah. He said that to me. So, it's not good killing anyone, but I mean, if I felt like I was going to be threatened, I think I'd have to do the same. So, okay. I mean, the man supposedly went in a pub with a shotgun, didn't he? Jack the Hat.
Yeah,
looking for him. So, I don't, if you're being threatened like that, can't half blame the man, really. But then, the politics side of it, I think, it was just, it was never going to get out.
Did it surprise you how much fan mail Reg got? Because you mentioned about the letters that he'd written, and I mean,
bags of it.
Sometimes it was up to 400 a week, wasn't it? Sometimes
it was ridiculous. It was just bags and bags of like postman sacks coming up to him. Like, it was just madness, really. Well, good, really, for him. But I don't. Apparently, he told me he replied to every one of them, but I don't know if he did. It was a lot of work. Just
it was incredible. It was incredible to see some of the, some of the letters that have circulated over the years. But I get the impression that he did, and I guess it was all down to the film. The fact that the film came out in 1990 and a new set of Kray fans, if you like, was born.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised about how bad his writing was as well. I don't know. You've got his writing, and I was surprised about that. I don't know. What else? I never read his book until I went to prison. Never read any of their books. In fact, I never read a book until I went to prison. Whole book. It was just fascinating, really. You don't know all the truths, do you? You know, obviously things get exaggerated. But as far as I'm concerned, he didn't do. He wasn't a nasty, horrible person. He was a nice gentleman, really was, and he tried to help people as well. A lot of people. So,
you mentioned the visits earlier on, and the fact that they were comical. I went on many visits to Maidstone where, I ended up being on one VO, and he'd given his visiting orders out to other people, but he'd obtained other inmates' VOs, and he would sometimes have a collection of maybe 10 or 12 people on a visit. And I mean, was that a regular occurrence?
It was, and then they started towards the end, just before I left. We was getting a 30 hour. We was getting a 23 hour bang up, and they stopped all that walking from table to table. You had to be seated, and your visitors went and got the food and drink. You didn't go, so you as a con, you had to sit there. You weren't allowed to get up and walk around. So they did towards the end. They stopped all that. So I don't think he was very happy about it. But what could he do?
Do you think that the prison officers turned a blind eye with Reg because of the fact that he'd served so long?
They did. Yeah, they did let a lot of things go with him. Yeah, definitely. But as I said, when Bradley was with him, I think it was more probably Bradley, but it become a bit of a pain to the screws, so they got rid of Bradley. It was just up to little niggly things, nothing to put your finger on exactly, but they was just doing things that they didn't like, basically.
When you say things they didn't like, can you
Well, as you say about the drinking and the drugs, and just they wasn't up to no good, not violent wise.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing silly, like Reggie wouldn't work. He was on the cleaners, but he didn't do anything, and they didn't like it, which was silly to me. I mean, leave him alone, poor old sod. We didn't care. Me and my mates were cracked on, let him carry on. Yeah, that's exactly how I remember him. That picture there you got there, exactly how I remember him.
Did he ever have any confrontations in prison when you were there?
No, didn't see none of that, not at all. Whether he did on the quiet, I don't know, but I never see anything like that with him. No, it was always he's talked really quietly. So
yeah, he did. A lot of people don't realise that, but he spoke very quietly like that, and he was deaf in one ear as well. He put people on his deaf side on visits who he didn't really want to speak to as well.
Yeah, but whether he was having a word with someone in their ear, because people always have to lean over and listen to him. And then whether he was having a word with them, having a go at them, I don't know. But he was always quiet, and he never. None of the people that I was in there with had any problems with him. I didn't.
Did you ever see any celebrity visitors come to Maidstone to visit him?
A few. Not. I say celebrities, not really.
EastEnders cast members.
Yeah, them sort of people. Well,
the likes of John, maybe it's the likes of John Altman, and he would visit Mike Reid.
I don't think I'll see Mike Reid. Nah, but there was a few. I wouldn't call them celebrities, but a few people that were. I suppose they are celebrities, but a few people come up.
Any notorious villains?
No, not that I can remember. No, not that I can remember at all. Yeah, but he was on the visit, as you said. It was quite interesting watching him going from table to table to table and leaving his poor visitors sitting there. I don't know. It was quite amusing. Yeah,
I often tell the story about the very first visit I had with him in Nottingham when he was moved there, and there was a young lad, pale-faced, probably about 10 stone wet through, when he came over to the table, and Reg goes, "This is Paul Marcus Henry." He said, "This is me friend. He's a good burglar." And I went to Reg. I said, "Well, if he's a good burglar, what's he doing in here?"
Yeah, what's he doing in prison? Yeah.
And Reg looked deadpan, and Paul and me never got on after that, which was a nightmare, because obviously a couple of years later in Blunderston, when we got the family day visit, I was on the family day visit on the 23rd of December, which was for Christmas, which meant you got an all-day visit. And I looked at the invite, and I got a letter from Reg and said, "You and Paul will be coming to the visit together." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Oh no.
So I had to spend an entire Christmas dinner with not only with Reg, but with Paul Marcus Henry. So that was not the best of Christmas celebrations, I've got to be honest. And I found it interesting. I found it interesting that day as well, that Reg actually, because you don't know what to expect, and he came out with the box, and he'd obviously traded stuff. And he came out. I remember getting a NAF pencil case with a pen, a pencil, and a ruler in. I got a cowbell. Don't ask. I've got no idea where he got that from. Which was like it is what it says, a bell. I got a pair of trainers which looked as if they'd seen better days, and something else. But it was the thought that counts, I guess. But it was it was bizarre to actually be getting Christmas presents off Reg.
You could get anything in there, though. You could, if you had that was the currency, was the phone cards. I think they've stopped it now. But you can get anything with the phone cards. You get someone in the carpenter shop to knock you something up or whatever. You can get anything in there. So, yeah. Was
Maidstone a better prison than Blunderston for you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did one of them have a swimming pool?
Yeah, that was Maidstone. Yeah,
that was Maidstone. So that made a big difference, I guess. I mean, Reg clearly liked to go in the pool, I think.
Yeah, we all did. In the winter, it was that hot in there as well. You couldn't see one end from the other for the steam. I remember in a splash, and I looked behind, and there was a black guy jumped in, thought it was a shallow end. It was a deep end. And I just carried on walking. And another time, I was swimming in there, and there was a foreigner, I don't know, whatever he was, Turk or whatever, and Joe, the jets of water that come out of the pipes, he had his trunks pulled down, and he was giving himself a little wash up the arse. I never went in there after that. Just scum, mate.
I mean, Reg used to like to keep himself fit in prison, and I've dug this one out, which was Reg showing his boxing skills.
He was always on the bag. He was always boxing, doing some sort of fitness. Yeah.
And I mean. Yeah, it's a good photo, isn't it? I mean, that was there was a couple brought out there, but that was in Maidstone in 1995. That's where those images came from. I mean, what kind of music and stuff was he listening to?
He liked anything, really. He listened to. I don't think he likes like the heavy nightclub stuff, but he likes things that I like jazz and blues and stuff like that. But I don't know.
I remember him requesting a bit of Shabba Ranks off me at one point.
Yeah, that sort of thing. He listens to that sometimes, but I think he likes his jazz more than anything. Yeah. Dean Martin, I remember him listening to. A bit of Dean Martin. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
And he always used to get up early as well. He was an early riser. A lot of the letters that I've got from him, and I've probably got over 200 letters from Reg over a 10-year period, which I kept a hold of. And a lot of them were like 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m.
That surprised me.
And he used to get up that early to start writing the letters. And it was, like you say, the writing, as anybody will tell you who's seen a Kray letter, it's very much like a doctor's shorthand.
It is, yeah. Terrible writing. And it takes you a while to read it. So, yeah. But, yeah, don't surprise. That's probably why Harry replied to all his fan mail that he said to me. He replied to everyone. He would have had to get up at that time to clear all them letters, because there was so many.
I know back a little bit earlier than when he met you, I remember him for a period of time having a guy called Jeff Reynolds, who was used to call himself Reg's secretary. So some of the letters I've got are Reg was too busy today. He's asked me to drop you a line and ask you to ring this person, and then he would sign off Jeff Reynolds, Reggie's secretary. I never met him, but it was always interesting.
Yeah, he never had a secretary when I was there, but yeah. He was an absolute gentleman, legend, whatever. Yeah, I liked him a lot. It was nice. Really was
when Bradley left, I mean that must have been a bit heartbreaking for him. I mean, you've mentioned that there was an exchange of I love yous through the cell bars when he got moved from wheeled wing onto a different wing. Yeah. I mean, it must have hurt him when he was moved out of the prison. I remember getting a letter off him saying he was disappointed that he'd left.
Yeah, he was a bit disappointed. And then that Danny come on the scene and he seemed to chirp up a bit. So I don't know.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. The fight for freedom for Reg was something which I partook in. I was involved in numerous campaigns. I helped like a lot of other people did up and down the country to try and raise awareness that he'd done he'd done too long, and especially after Ron died. But the thing that really seemed to change things for the better was Roberta coming on the scene. And of course Roberta was somebody who was middle class woman, very well spoken. Her dad was very high profile, and for her to fall in love with Reg seemed a little bit unbelievable, I think, for a lot of casual observers. But she really seemed to change his life for the better, Warren.
Yeah, I think she did. Yeah, I think she did. Actually, I do remember seeing her now, seeing that photo. Yeah.
And she really came in with a bit between her teeth. And I remember getting, she drove the campaign. She started to isolate Reg more from the former villains, in and around his circle. Got rid of a lot of the hangers-on and the charlatans. And what she did do was build up a successful legal team, which was headed by a guy called Trevor Lynn. Yeah. And she really started to make inroads into the system. And obviously, Reg appreciated what she was doing, and he popped the question. Yeah,
good on him, though. Fair play.
Yeah. And were you in Maidstone when the wedding took place?
I'm not sure. I don't think I was. No, I'm not.
Because they got married in 1997, and
I think I'd left. I'd left then.
Unbeknown to people these days, it's very difficult for wedding photos to actually come out of prison. Charlie Salvador, who obviously I still go down to see to this day, has always struggled. When he married Paula, he couldn't get the wedding photographs even when she passed away. God bless her. He couldn't get the wedding photographs to even put in a coffin, which is crazy. But with Reggie, he seemed to find love, and he looked as if he was getting closer to a chance of potential freedom. But then he was hit with illness. I mean, where were you? Were you released, or were you in a different prison when you heard the news about Reggie taking ill and being released on compassionate grounds?
I was released. I was 1999. I was released. I was only there, Maidstone, for about 18 months. So I do believe I missed the wedding. I was there for when Ronnie died because of the aeroplane that went over. But as I say, it was 18 months, and he was an absolute gentleman. Yeah, and he did tell me some stories, some that I don't really want to say. But
any other stories you can share, Warren?
Just that he still loved Francis so much. He told me that that was the love of his life. People were saying that he'd never ever had sex with her, but I don't know about that. He didn't say that to me, but he just loved her so much. Really did. So
it's weird because I've got exactly the same recollection. I mean, on more than one occasion, I had conversations with Reg, and we didn't dwell on the past too much. And I would only ever talk about the past with Reg if he brought it up. And if there was a situation where something was in the newspapers about something in his past, then he would reflect. And there was a lot of reflection once Ron had died, because a lot of people don't know, but Ron and Reg used to get 2 visits to each other a year. They used to, on 1 month, Reg could go to Broadmoor and he would be transferred to Broadmoor, and they would have a visit at Broadmoor, and then they would get another visit in whatever prison he was in, and Ron would be brought to see him. It was pretty hush-hush. It wasn't well publicised but they got that. It was compassionate by the prison authorities because they were twins. And that in itself was quite unique in the prison system. But you're right about Francis. That is something which he deeply regretted, and I think I don't know whether you ever saw the deathbed interview that he gave, which was on the BBC.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
But when he talks about one other, I always feel it was Frances he was talking about, and I don't mean that mean that anybody murdered her. It's quite clear she took her own life. But I feel that he felt that whatever had gone on in their relationship, whatever part Ron had played, I feel he felt that the twins were responsible for what happened to her. You know.
Yeah. I mean, when he spoke about it, I didn't ask him about it. He mentioned it to me without me prompting him at all. He just come straight out with it, and which surprised me really. But yeah, he just loved it a bit, really did. And his mum, he'd go on about his mum a bit sometimes. His aunts. He didn't really tell me too much about his mum and aunts, but he just said how much they influenced him in his life. Him and his brothers, but yeah. And
obviously Charlie, of course, met a similar end. And I mean, I went into the witness box as a character witness for Charlie.
Setup,
yeah, I mean, what was your views on that as somebody who served time yourself? I mean, it's hard to preach into the public sometimes and trying to explain to them what actually does go on in the real world. But Charlie was set up.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there. I never knew the man either. But from what I can gather, is the police just literally was out for him because of his name, Kray, and they got him. Poor man. Yeah, he was a straight goer, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, he might have dabbled a bit, but he was a straight goer, I'd have said. Yeah, just set him right up, yeah.
Give him a death sentence, 100%.
Yeah, they did. They did give him a death sentence.
Does it surprise you now that, Reg has been gone 22 years? And,
yeah, that surprised me, yeah.
And essentially now, we've just seen it in recent weeks. 3-part series on ITV, Secrets of the Krays. Then, after the successful film that Ray Burtis did in 1990, we've had numerous other films. We've had Legend with Tom Hardy playing both of the twins.
Brilliant film. That makes me laugh.
Does it? We've even had the government this week that we're recording this use the same line about going with a shooter, coming with a pea shooter instead of guns. But does it surprise you?
For a shootout.
Yeah. Does it surprise you 22 years after the death that people are still making movies, still making documentaries, and still writing books?
It does surprise me to some extent, but then no, they're both legends, aren't they? Really, I mean, what they did, they never hurt anyone but their own. They never done anything bad, as far as I'm concerned. I know they kill people, but they did help people in their local community, even when they was out. So, and when they was in, they still helped as much as they could. I know he was probably skimming off the top, but who can blame me for that? Where's his money coming from? Can't live off thin air in prison. If no one's sending you any money, what are you going to live on? So I can't blame him for that if he did skim. Well, he's bound to have done. So,
do you think there'll ever be anybody like the Krays again?
No, not in today. There's too many cameras about. There's too many people that get their phones out and film things, and nah. If you go into crime now, it's a mug's game. It's not good. It's just get a job. It's the only way forward. Just get a job.
It's good advice, and it's certainly a message that we've tried to spread on this channel whenever we've had people on. Last couple of minutes, really, just last memories of Reggie. I mean, obviously you met him, you spent some time with him. What are your final memories of Reggie?
The final, when I was leaving that day, when I was going to another prison, to a semi-open prison, come straight up to me, shook my hand. He said, "Look, just make sure you look after your family." That's all he said. I went, "Thanks, Reg," and I left. That was it. I never heard from him again. Never sent any more Christmas cards to my missus. He only sent them that 1 year. But he's got too many people to send photos to, or pictures to, or letters to. Anyway, so I was probably as soon as I left that prison, I was out of his mind. But yeah, as I said, he comes straight up to me and just make sure you look after your family.
Great stuff. Thanks for honestly, Warren. Thank you for sharing it. I'm hoping and praying that you managed from 1999 to manage to stay away from trouble and keep your nose clean.
A little bit, as much as I can. Yeah.
Warren, honestly, it's the first time we've had anybody on the channel who actually served some time with Reg, and thank you so much for reaching out. It's been a pleasure to listen to your stories and your memories and giving a different perspective. Wishing you all the best, mate. Good luck.
I wish I could tell you more, but out of respect for the man, I'll keep stum for the minute. I'll think about it. Yeah.
No, well done. And listen, putting your head above the parapet is very difficult to do. You've done it. I think let's see whether Bradley Allardyce is bringing the book out. I believe he is. It'll be interesting to see what stories he has, and then maybe you might go down the same road, Warren.
Okay, mate. Yeah, we'll see what he says. All right, cheers, mate.
Take care, mate. God bless.
Nice to meet you. Cheers, bye.
And you, mate.
Bye.